Se você deseja consultoria de qualidade, vem para o time Music.
What is up, guys? Welcome back to the training edition for the YouTube channel. Today Corin and I hitting push, and this is a exercise variation setup on our push-pull leg split. So I kind of said that you can have either one or two exercise variations in that, so you just kind of repeat the same movements over and over and over, or you might have two variations. We've had either one or two depending on kind of where we're at with things. Like typically when we've gone back on anabolics, we've then stuck with one rotation because we've known that our strength is about to rocket. So then you kind of want to stay on that movement because you're just going to get progress. But then as that progress starts to kind of diminish over a period of time, then that's where you might want to bring in a second rotation, so then you don't have to just alter out all of your exercises on the first one. So then you can keep that progression going on the first one, whilst then just having a second rotation. But fill that out for yourself. Like that's something that we certainly always did. I mean, I ran lesser low phases, so then for me, I kind of had two rotations all the time, whereas Corin, when she was competing in bodybuilding, had like big breaks off of anabolics. So then when she did go back on using her Anavar or a Primobolan that she was using, you then just stuck on the one rotation and just let your strength move, like rocket on that movement, until then we had to introduce a second. So today's a second, and we're going to do it in the same fashion that we did the last one, in that it's going to be a chest compound, then a shoulder compound, then a tricep compound, then a chest isolation, shoulder isolation, tricep isolation, in that order. The volume is still going to be at the same volume as last time. It's just a baseline volume, because based on mine and Corin's recovery capabilities at the moment, that's all we need. Because like literally right after this, we've got a jiu-jitsu session. So we'll do this session in about hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes, and then we'll head straight from this to that. So we're not pushing our volume. If your recovery is in a state that will lend itself to adding more work to your weaknesses, then do that. But equally, as I've previously mentioned, if you're in a caloric deficit, there is no scope to be adding additional volume. It's just not necessary. We know that when we're hitting things at high frequencies, we can keep our volume low, because that keeps our intensity and our effort high, and it keeps our overall fatigue across the week low. These are important things to kind of take into consideration. And I've covered those a lot in the videos previously, so for those of you that have been watching the series throughout, you'll understand what I'm saying. For those that haven't, I advise starting from episode 1 and working your way through. So today we're going to start with a mid-incline Smith. Corin and I are nowhere near as strong on this as we have been, especially Corin at one point was world champion bench presser, literally, but you haven't taken anything since August of last year when you did your last bodybuilding competition.
That phase is done.
Yeah.
I'm now like 10 kilos lighter, if not more, all of the time. Yeah. And I'm not actually trying to be that strong anymore.
Yeah. Well,
so
obviously, for those of you,
in terms of like my focus of training, I'm doing more martial arts than I am strength training. So I'm not focusing on strength. If I was, I'd be in the gym a lot more, my frequency would be higher, and I'd be structuring everything around being strong, but I'm not. So
for those of you that just kind of have asked the question, can you do weight training sessions and martial arts sessions at the same time? Of course you can. Yes. Just do both. Just literally do both as hard as you can, and adjust your kind of work in either of them accordingly. So some weeks you might be tired and you might be like, okay, well, because my focus is actually still my physique, I'm going to drop out one martial arts session this week. Or if your focus is actually solely your martial arts, you'll be like, okay, I'm only going to do 2 weight sessions this week. Just slide things up and down accordingly. Don't overthink any of that. Like a lot of you asking this question, like, how can I do both? Just literally do both, and just auto-regulate as you go. You can very much have a phenomenal physique, phenomenal, and be very, very damn good at martial arts. You can do both. That's absolutely not an issue. Will you be an IFBB pro and also be an extremely competitive martial artist? No. It's not going to happen. Once you get to that point, you then have got to go, okay, which direction am I going in? But that's obvious. That's very obvious to anyone. Like, you cannot be world class in 2 things at the same time. It's just not realistic. So, right, we'll crack on, and yeah, we'll get to work. So guys, warm-ups in the usual fashion. Not wasting any energy. Just 4, 3, 2 reps. Do as many of those as you need to get warm until you're ready to do your work set. It will be like a 5 to 9 for the first set. On days that your body doesn't feel like a 5 to 9 because you're beat up, then start on the 12 to 15 and then go up for your second set. It doesn't have to be load and back off. That is not a rule. It can be the lighter weight first. 3, 2, 1, go. Last warm up will be on 3 plates. I'll just do a single rep, make sure I'm ready to do my work set. So then my work set today will be 3.5. I don't know how many for. Sadly, gone are the days of 4 plate pressing. Apologies. I did my best, but it's just not happening. I've just dropped too much muscle, and I've been taking just the stupidest amount of drugs in terms of low for
not the other way.
Not the other way around for so long that no, 4 plate pressing is not happening anymore, which makes me sad. But even I don't even want to talk about the deadlift numbers. For those of you that care, Corin's competing again next weekend in a 3rd jiu-jitsu tournament. This time she's entered into 3 classes: gi, no gi, and then the absolute. So the last one she was gi and no gi. And she's unbeaten so far. So we'll see how next weekend goes and see if you can win 3 golds at this one. Like as with everything Corin does, some of you might not be familiar with Corin. It's not the YouTube.
You're probably not.
But you're soon going to work out what she's about. She's a machine, quite literally. Come on, Corin. Come on, peace out. Yeah, 5 seconds. Yeah, drive through this. Drive through it hard. Yep. Yeah, this is there. Just grab it. Let's go. Big drive, big drive, big drive, big drive, big drive. Come on. Big drive. Good. Yeah, baby touch. That last one up on 3 plates felt like I could still do 4 if I wanted to. Let's do 4 because it might still be there. For those of you that are on the members site, you're used to this from me. But I gave you a little bit on the leg one, but when I'm trying to do really, really, really strong stuff, I've got certain songs that basically act as cheat codes for me. Some people don't like getting into headspaces, like I said before, to be aggressive. I do, because it makes me really, really, really damn strong when I do it. And certain songs just help me get there. They're mostly classical type songs. I don't know why, as you do. But a lot of Hans Zimmer stuff. So, but there's one song in particular. For those of you that are on the members site, if you guess what song that is, then I don't know. We'll send you a free tub of EAA. To the first 5 of you, no more than that. Because what happens is everyone starts copying each other's answers to get a free tub of EAA. Okay. Don't miss, guys, don't miss. Still there. Just. My best on that was on a mid incline 4 plates was 14 reps. So we're down to 2. But it is what it is.
I assume you vote down.
Yeah. Obviously mine and Corinne's goals are still to progress our lifts. Like, we've dropped a boatload of strength and size, out of choice, to be able to do like the stuff that we're doing now. Like, my goal is to be able to be competing like Corinne is. I'm just not as good as her, and it's not coming as quickly to me as it is her, but Corinne dominates absolutely everything that she does, so that's kind of expected from her. For me, I'm doing my best to catch up, but now our strength has dropped to kind of this level. It won't actually keep dropping from here. Like, from here, we can then drive it back up again. So Corinne, your first set there was 35 a side? 35. Yeah, so Corinne's goal will be to get back up to doing 2 plates a side. Yeah, and we'll biscuit and creep our way back up. But like, we've both had proportionally the same kind of drop-offs in strength, in that like Corinne at her peak, when she was winning all of her powerlifting competitions, benched 2 plates aside on a barbell for 10 reps was your best? 100 kg for 10? That set that Josh spotted you?
Yeah, it was something like
yeah, 100 kg for 10. So, and then like, there's videos floating around of her doing like dumbbell presses on 50.
High inclines.
Yeah, high incline presses in the 50 kilo dumbbells. Yeah, so doing some really strong stuff. So we've kind of dropped strength proportionally together a half is better. I do a half. Okay. But like I said, now we're back at that level. We're still aim to progress our lifts in the exact same fashion that we're advocating you to do. You'll take a rep here, take a rep there, you'll biscuit a weight. Like, for us, lift progressions will come really slowly now, really slowly. And that, like, exercises will stall sooner, and we'll have to rotate them out more frequently. But that's just part and parcel of being kind of in this position. Obviously, Corinne is entirely natural, doesn't take anything whatsoever. So when you're in that state, it just is what it is. You just have to scrap for your lift progressions. So like, guys, that was like 3.5 and a bit plates of 5. So my goal now, probably won't do 4 plates again for a bit. I'm actually surprised I can still do it. So I'll start on the 3.5 next time, biscuit it again, but probably take it for 6, fresh. Then look to drive that up to 8, and once that's at 8, I'll then probably jump to 4 plates, when I know I can then do 4 plates for 4, and then just kind of repeat that process. When I start with the 3.5 first set next time, like I said, I'll get that for 6, and then I'll come down to just 3 and get that for like probably 11, maybe 12. And then if I came in and some days I didn't feel, so my breathing as well is a bit funny, because like I said, I was ill, some kind of COVID shit, and my breathing still isn't normal, annoyingly. Like, martial arts this week has been, jiu-jitsu this week has been not fun. So if some days where things aren't feeling the best, I'll come in and start on 3 plates, and then if I did that first set, I'd probably be able to get that for 13, maybe 14 reps, entirely fresh. But I judge by my warm-ups. My warm-ups today felt actually really good. So that's why I was like, okay, no, I can actually do 4 plates. But listen to your body on the warm-ups. If your elbows are giving you bad feedback, if you're getting niggles in your chest, don't try to load. Take a lower weight PB. So guys, when you're onto your second exercise, which is your shoulder press, you're not going to need very many warm-ups, because you've already warmed up thoroughly from your work that you've previously done. So you're just pressing in a different plane, but everything that gets used in this one, you've already used, so you're good to go. If you have a prime machine like this, If you're using it fresh, you can load the mid peg more so for your first set, but if you're using it as your second set, then I would advise distributing your load between mid and upper, just because you're not going to have the oomph to get things fully short in the same way, just because you've used some of that up on that initial press movement that you did. So in this one, you want to have more load in the lengthening position, and then it'd be kind of more of an even resistance profile through this press. So I'm just going to do literally probably 2 warm-up sets just to get a feel, and then I'll work. Nice one, come on, drive through it, good. So guys, with this it'll be, again, just 2 sets here. I'll do my first set heavy, and then my second set I'll back off a little bit and get a few more reps. But for me, like I've mentioned in the previous videos, where I'm looking to just train for maximal strength anyway, like my load and back off are always like even heavier and then come back down. I wouldn't have usually done a double on that 4 plate, but I was just taking the piss. That was literally just to see if I could do it. So, and again, for those of you that aren't used to my YouTube content, get used to that, because a lot of the time I will still just do things just to see if I can still do them. I don't get injured that often actually, so which is surprising.
Don't say that now. Good, come on. Get it.
I got way more reps on that than I thought I would. So,
first few flew.
So in that instance, when you kind of get those reps higher than you anticipate, based on your rep range parameters, second set just go up in weight, and then your next training session, start with the heavier one. Nice one. Let's go. Drive through it. Yes. Power at the bottom when you get it. Let's go. Yeah. Cool. The way that it drops off like that is so good. So, guys, you saw there that Corinne adjusted her loading for the second set, but she had more overall machine weight, because first set you had 40 kilos a side, and then the second set was 45 a side. So we're going up in that second set because she got 8 reps on the first set, but more of the load was then on the top peg, just because of the resistance profile. In that, again, we've got still lots of power in the lengthening position, but you're going to struggle to get that lockout, so then adjust your resistance profile accordingly. I'll do I'll actually do 4 and 1. So guys, this will be heavy now. This will probably only be like 2 or 3. But as you can see, I've hugely adjusted the resistance profile. So I've got 5 plates on the machine in total aside, which is what I should have had on the first set. But the first set I should have probably had 2.5, 2.5, or 2 middle, 3 top. So now I've got 4 top, 1 middle. So the 5 aside that I should have had. What's super important, guys, is that when you are potentially in my position and that you've been really big and strong, and then you decide that it's time to downsize, get fit, get healthy, still look good, because you should always look good. There's no reason to misrepresent yourself in the way that you look, because that's been your identity for your life. But you have to literally accept that your strength is going to drop. Like for me, there is absolutely no thought process that to redrive my loads, that taking more than a TRT dose like I said, I'm not even taking a TRT dose. Like they're taking more than that. I don't believe that should be a thought process if you were in my position, in that you've built a ton of muscle and you've pushed. If you've competed for a long time and you've been using for a long time, I believe that that's it. You draw a line under that and you must accept it. I think that's really important. Like, obviously, I can't tell you how you should live your life, but I know for sure, for me, it would be a risk that I would not be willing to take after having pushed. Because yeah, if you look great and you built a load of muscle and you got strong, but you died for it, you failed. That's not a win. You've got to get out on the other side. And sadly, we've seen a lot of our friends pass away from this. And that can be avoided through smart decision. Yes, it kind of sucks being smaller and weaker, but it just is what it is. It's just a coat of armor, guys. You can't live in it forever. It's got to come off. And you've got to learn how to like live in life without your coat of armor on. It's really important. And trust me, it's hard. It's hard. Like, I find it hard. Like it's something that you're going to have troubles with. But if I can do it, which means then it means that you can definitely do it. So.
Plus, you won't look good dead anyway.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah. So guys, third compound movement, which is our tricep focus. We're going to do it on a narrow grip cable press. So the goal here, the advantage of this setup is that you can really adjust your elbow path to hit the tricep perfectly. So we're going to keep nice and tucked, and then we're going to drive out and lock out all on the triceps. One warm-up rep, that's all I needed. So because everything's really warm, and I know kind of roughly the weight that I can use on that. I actually felt, again, heavier than I thought it would, but it's kind of the story of everything at the moment. So I'll do, yeah, one more rep, and then that's it, I'm ready to work. I don't need to waste more energy than that. Guys, obviously if like your triceps were a weakness over your shoulders, this could then be the exercise that you did second in the order of the session. Or if your shoulders were a weakness, you would have started with the prime shoulder press first. If your triceps are your biggest weakness, I would do a chest press movement, but all I would do is just slightly adjust my grip to just bring the grip in slightly, just to have a little more tricep bias, because you're still going to be able to then load a lot in that movement. Guys, you can just see there, that last lockout, that was very, very hard. And again, that's a resistance profile component. That's the theme that we're talking about consistently through the videos, is that in that moment there, I would have loved that to have dropped off slightly. But the reason why I'm choosing this movement instead of something that does have a variable resistance profile is the ease of adjusting your arm path to nail the tricep. So it's like a compromise, because yeah, like if I had a machine that did that in that way, that would be perfect, but there aren't machines that exist that are perfect in every way. The prime shoulder press, for example, is not perfect. It doesn't converge, and the handles are more behind you. A better shoulder press is with the handle here in front of you. So the best shoulder press machine you could get would be the Atlantis shoulder press machine, but with an adjustable resistance profile, but they don't do it. Someone, please make something that's identical to the Atlantis shoulder press with adjustable resistance profile, and I'll pay for it. see Corinne's arm path, and like the ease of adjusting the arm path throughout the set on triceps is perfect, isn't it? It's a very, very, very nice tricep press movement. So guys, I've gone down in weight, again, just because I'm not going to get this short otherwise. And even when I get closer to failure, I'll still have some oomph in the lengthened, more so than the shortened. But then how I end the session with my tricep work will then kind of make sure that I've exhausted the lengthened position. Little spot. Yep. So guys, yeah, I know. So the way around that resistance profile aspect is, you heard on that last rep, all I shouted to Corinne was just a little spot. She knows that I can basically get the rep myself, but I just need a little bit of help getting that short. I don't see that so much as a force rep, because that's a resistance profile issue. So in those situations where you have less than advantageous resistance profiles, have someone go hands-on just to get it short. I talked about that in previous sessions as well. So guys, we're onto the pec deck now, and because of our exercise choice so far, in that we use the tricep press that was hard to get short, although we were biasing the tricep, there is still some chest element there. And in that position, you are still then fatiguing in the shortened position. So when we get on the pec deck now, we're going to use settings 5 to start, and then setting 3 for the second set. And these are the ones that immediately more move towards dropping off in the short, because we just don't have as much strength left there now. But you're still going to have a lot left in the lengthened. So pick your exercise selection here appropriately. If you didn't have this pec deck, I would be doing a dumbbell fly. So guys, with that, Corinne's form is a little different to mine, and I don't really adjust her form when she does things the way that she wants to do them, because she was an extremely good professional physique competitor and bodybuilder. So in those instances, when you have someone that has been lifting for a really long time and they do form that is less than like textbook or ideal, don't read into that, because you're going to see that a lot with a lot of pros. So like a lot of the top guys lift in their way. Like that's not how I do the set. I do the set where I'm looking more to bring my upper arms together. But Corinne knows how she wants that set to feel. So in those instances, you need to play with the feel for yourself. And again, if I see people criticizing the way that like certain pros train, it's cringe. It's cringe, guys, because you're trying to get as big as them, but you're not. And you're trying then to criticize them because that kind of slightly makes you feel better subconsciously. Whereas when you really think about it, like all that you're actually trying to do is to look like them. But for some reason you're criticizing them. Stop doing that. Just understand that there's going to be nuance to people's forms. So Branch lifts how Branch lifts. Yes, I do not want to lift like that, but I will never criticize the way Branch lifts, because look what he built from it. So if you're criticizing the way Branch lifts, you're a moron, okay? But equally, you have to understand that that form might not work for you. So there's a real kind of scope for variability when it comes to execution. Yes, there is execution that we could consider optimal, but let's understand that this has a broad spectrum when it comes to people that know the way internal stimulus feels. My recovery was brilliant and I was looking to build muscle, and I got into a run where I potentially exhausted my use of strength sets. And I thought to myself, okay, some additional rest pause sets or even some additional drop sets in kind of a certain situation would now be would be useful. I wouldn't do them on my compound movements. Like typically in this session, the first place that I would add an intensifier would be on this pec deck. And it would usually be on this second set. Because then, if you think about it, it doesn't affect any subsequent work that I do in any way. Whereas if I did it on the chest compound, that could negatively impact my shoulder and my tricep movement because I'm still pressing with my arms. Whereas if I do it on this second set, if I did it on the first set, it would affect my log booking of my second set. So when I add intensifiers, I add them onto the set that has the least impact to the rest of the session. So then session to session, I can still gauge my progress as a whole. So I'm not going to do that because I'm in no position to build muscle. So it would just be a waste of time. And equally, you have to understand that when you're in a diet phase and you're close to a show, for example, if you're doing drop sets, ask yourself why you're doing that. Because that intensifier is solely there to bring about more effective rep recruitment, which means then you're looking to build more muscle because you need to have the raw material there to build that muscle. If you're in a deficit, you don't. So what you're doing is you're causing more damage to a muscle that actually you can't recover. That's how you create a tired physique. So don't do that if you're in a deficit, guys. Seven again. Okay guys, so the last push session you saw, I used a cable lateral. In this instance, I'm going to use a machine as my variation. So I've had variations of everything so far. I can't remember if I did a pec deck in the last one, I may have done. But with that, I actually tend to then just alter my resistance profile and quite often my rep ranges if I do it for consecutive push sessions. I know in that previous push session, I definitely didn't work on 5 and then 3. I would probably have done 1 and then 3 based on the exercise selection that I used. So with this, I'm going to start on setting 2, which overloads the short because I've got tons of oomph here. And as with the cable, I'm going to just a slight pause in the contraction just because I've got the strength there to do it. So I'm going to make the most of just getting that really strong contraction in that shortened position because I know then as these sets go on, I'm not going to be able to hit that shortened position with that load and that contraction at any other point again in the session. So whilst it's there, you use it. And it's the same thing I say like with the lat sessions, because certain things are hard to get short. And as you get fatigued, you're not going to be able to replicate that tension in the fully shortened position. Set was over when I felt like I couldn't quite then hit that fully contracted position. Moved to setting 1, and with this I will still slightly pause in the shortened position just because I do still have some oomph there, and then for my last 2 sets I won't, because then it will drop off in that shortened position and it will overload the lengthen. These prime pieces are incredible. but they're absolutely incredible. Like, I should be on commission for how much I plugged them, but I'm not. So, prime, Venom. Setting 5. So again now, this drops off in the short because you're just not going to have the strength now through the resistance profile, through your strength profile to get all the way to the shortened position on a load that you can lift here. You will not get it to here. So typically then, what that means for most machines is, or a dumbbell for example, is that the load you use is reflected on your strength here, which is no good because we've still got loads of oomph from here to here. So we need something that then challenges the muscle from here to here. Otherwise, how are we going to get full muscle fiber recruitment? We're not, is the answer. So for those of you who don't have this machine, watch the other push video I did where I think it's titled something to do with resistance profiles. Watch that and I show you how to do this on a cable. And then equally, you can do that setup with the pauses on a cable in the same way that you would just use on a normal machine like this. That again. So guys, last set, setting 3, loads of resistance in the lengthened position, drops off a lot in the shortened position because don't have much oomph left there now at all, so it's perfect. So the resistance profile is matching our current strength profile in the training session. Super important. If we didn't have an adjustable machine, probably wouldn't be able to accumulate all 4 sets on the one machine. And again, like I've mentioned before, that's why in previous sessions, when I only had access to like hammer strength machines and free weights, that I only used to ever limit myself to 2 sets on one piece, because there was no choice. Because then it would be a diminishing returns when it comes to the strength profile that we have being misaligned with the resistance profile of the machine. That sounds complicated, and I apologise because I don't really know how to explain that in a way that is less complicated. And for those of you that are new to lifting weights, you're not going to have any idea what I just talked about. And for that reason, don't worry about it. Just get strong. Just get strong on movements based on the full body training session. Pick your exercise. You only have 1 set to do. Get it done. And that's it. Like you don't have to worry more about resistance profiles. Resistance profiles, I think, are for more advanced guys. I see a lot of kind of like gym nerds that are really hung up on resistance profiles and perfect execution, and you're still small because you're way too obsessed with that. Like, so you got to find a middle ground. You must get strong. You must get dirty strong. If your mind is constantly preoccupied with, is this the perfect line of pull? Is that the perfect contraction? You are going to stay small, I guarantee it. So when someone like James and myself train, yes, we will pick exercises that are optimal and we will put ourselves into optimal positions. Once that's been done, after that, all we are thinking about is being as explosive as we can and then lifting the weight with as much control as we can. We aren't overanalyzing it any more than that in that moment. So if you're being way too analytical and it's costing you load on the bar, you're costing yourself internal stimulus. So find that middle ground, guys. Oh man, that's a sad day that is. Only 5 reps on that. My best ever on that was 26 reps. Sad times.
It's alright. You're less than 20% the man you used to be, so. I know you do.
The goal will be for me to recreep that to like 10, maybe 12 reps. It won't go above that. And that'll take me ages to do. I have to stay focused on that. So like the last like 2 months, like for the last 3 weeks, I haven't trained push at all for the last 3 weeks. Or is it 4 weeks? I don't know, it's ages, it's been ages. Because, like I said, I was poorly, and then before, I wasn't recovering from my martial arts sessions. So then, in this period, I was like, right, my weights is just gonna drop out for a bit, just because I am happy to keep getting a bit smaller. Like I wanna be walking around in the 230s, low 230s. That would be ASAP, so that's why I'm happy to kind of jump forward and not lift for a bit. But then I miss it, and then I'm like, nah, my love is still lifting weights. Like, especially when I'm nowhere near as good at jiu-jitsu as Corin. So then I'm like, ah. So just for me, it's been constantly trying to find this balance of how much do I lift weights relative to how much to do jiu-jitsu. And again, that's just reflective of my goals, and it changes actually week to week. So like next week, I'll probably do 4 gym sessions, and then I'll train grappling 5 times. So I'll do like 4 BJJ sessions and 1 wrestling session. And that's enough work. Whereas Corin will train grappling 7 or 8 times, just because, and she'll probably do 1 or even 2 less weight sessions. But then knowing her, if I'm going to lift, she'll probably just lift as well, because she can seemingly recover from everything.
I'm staying at home.
So guys, last exercise, a tricep extension. Again, this really biases the lengthened position. There's not a huge amount of resistance in the fully shortened position. There's some, a lot more than a dumbbell, but there isn't masses, and that's reflective then of our tricep exercise selection choice earlier in the session. So guys, with the laterals and these, I did no warm-ups at all. There was just no need for me. If you have some shoulder joint issues, then I would advise maybe doing 1 warm-up set. Or if you have some sore elbows, again, warm-up sets. But for this movement, I'm jumping on with typically a higher rep range for my first set, just because this never feels great on my elbows to go straight and heavy. And then for my second set, I would then always go up in weight and then load a little more. From a volume perspective, if we look at the volume of work that's been done, when it comes to direct tricep movements, it's only 4 sets. Direct chest movement, only 4 sets. Like a front delt movement with the overhead press, only 2 sets. For the laterals, only 4 sets. Now, which means with this setup, they're being hit every 4 or 5 day frequency, which means across a 7-day period, we're looking at kind of like 6 sets on average, roughly, that you're hitting for direct work a week. Now, that would be more than enough for even myself to continue to grow when I was in peak bodybuilding. So just take that into consideration. That's 6 sets a week of direct work. Now, when we look at the volume studies, where they're saying that a minimum of 10 up to 20 sets a week, that's why I'm able to say, no, those are rubbish. And when I see that frequently with literally every single person that I ever coached, and we're talking hundreds and hundreds of people, that's why I can definitively say those volume studies are garbage. Because people aren't training to this level of intensity. And we're not even training crazy intense today. But it's about consistency over time, and it's a logbook progression, a logbook progression, a logbook progression. And when you're consistently exposing yourself to those greater loads that create a greater internal stimulus, you do not need endless amounts of volume. All the volume will do is it will take away from your ability to recover, and it will hinder your loading that goes on the bar. And then even more so, when you're doing more volume with reps in reserve, it means you're accumulating less effective reps. So your ability then to get load on the bar is huge. Look at all the guys, like, so don't get me wrong, there are some guys that have great physiques that train with the RER approach. So you're going to use those as examples, but none of them are strong and none of them are dense. Fact, every single guy that is strong and as a result is dense has trained in a progressive overload manner with no reps in reserve. It's a very, very frustrating discussion when it comes to the volume thing, which is why absolutely everyone I have ever known that has moved to a low volume training session has made way more progress. The only reason some people aren't able to do it is because it's an emotional attachment to needing to do more work, and then that's a mental issue. It's not a physiological issue. Session variation 2, so give the session a try. Any questions, please ask. And again, if you haven't watched the previous videos, I urge you to watch them, because you're going to pick up a lot of information that's going to make it extremely helpful for programming for yourself and all your clients. So thanks, guys.
Para mais vídeos assim, deixe o seu like e se inscreva no canal VINI Wizard, o bodybuilding traduzido de graça para você.